Hey, we're recording.
So whenever you're ready.
The following is the agenda for the regular council meeting of the Borough of Pompton Lakes, Mayor and Council, Municipal Corporation in the County of Passaic. The meeting will begin at 7:30 p.m. on June 14th in the Municipal Building, 25 Lennox Avenue, Pompton Lakes. Consistent with the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act, the meeting will be open for public comment and shall be in accordance with the terms and conditions of the Borough's Municipal Code and bylaws.
Okay, please stand for a flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please bless this mayor and council as they deliberate on the best of Pompton Lakes. Liz, if you want to try one more time, you said to do it now. I think that bothered you. You get your rest today.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message.
Try this number. He said, try his number, 949.
Hello?
Hi, this is Mayor Sarah.
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
How you doing?
Okay, is he on the phone there?
Yeah, I'll put you on speakerphone.
Okay, just put it on mute.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, no problem.
Is he going to participate? Is he going to participate and vote?
Is he gonna participate and vote? He's gonna just listen, I think.
Okay.
Okay. All right, sounds good.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. In conformance with the Open Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, adequate notice of this meeting setting forth the time, date, and place and purpose of this regular meeting through notice posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, mailed where I have requested and paid for same, and published in the Suburban Trends. Roll call, please.
Mayor Sarah.
Here.
Council President Polidori. Here. Councilman Begg is excused.
Yes.
Councilman Cruz.
Here.
Councilman Devine.
Here.
Councilwoman Kent. Here. Councilman Benning.
Here.
With us this evening is our Borough Attorney, Mark Seminaro, and our Borough Administrator, Paul Cosner.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to start off with a proclamation for Pride. Whereas the Borough of Pompton Lakes is an inclusive community that welcomes diversity and believes in the safety, equity, and hopes for all people, whereas we affirm that the borough must be placed the respect of our differences and beliefs aside, and overall prosperity of all our community. All human beings should be equal and have their rights, and no one should live in fear or face persecution and violence due to their sexual orientation or gender. Whereas LGBTQ+ individuals have made and continue to work vital contributions to our nation, our heritage, culture, political, civic, educational, economic, and other areas. Where the mayor and council call upon residents of our community to embrace the principle and work together to foster a warm and hospitable place for all to live. We celebrate Pride Month, raise awareness, and provide support and advocate for all Pompton Lakes LGBTQ+ community and foster dialogue to build an understanding. Now therefore I, Michael Sarah, recognize June 2023 in recognition as Pride Month in the Borough of Pompton Lakes, and that our residents continue to respect all fellow human beings irrespective of their sexual orientation or gender identity. There will also be a little ceremony for Pride at the library a week from this Sunday. I don't have the times, but it's going to...
Saturday, June 24th.
Do you have times though?
It's 1 to 4 p.m., I believe.
All right, so 1 to 4 at the library. It's an ongoing celebration there. You can stop in, say hello, or talk to some people there, so I welcome everybody to stay in. Okay, my second thing, it's a very interesting story here. Ed Merrill, who everybody's probably well aware, who's in the audience with us. Let me get a little history on Ed himself. Your family started here in Pompton, right?
Yes.
What year?
Well, they actually immigrated to New Jersey in 1640. The first ancestor that came to New Jersey would have been Martin Ryerson, and he was about 30th owner of the northern part of New Jersey.
So why don't you come up, why don't you help me explain what we're doing here? Got it, Mike? So why don't you explain a little bit about what this gun is and what it means?
Okay, well, I authored a statement, a letter that goes with it, that explains it in more detail, so I'm not going to go into deep detail. But basically, for me, it meant something to me on behalf of the town. It's history, for one. And the second big thing is it's heritage. And by that, I mean, for me, it's family heritage. Some of the people involved in this, in fact, the primary person involved, which was my great-grandfather, I was never fortunate enough to meet him while he was alive. He had passed on long before I was ever born. And basically what this was a story of something that involved him and happened to him. He had a general store on Montague Ave. In fact, over the course of time, he had more than one. But
Where the firehouse was, right?
no, well, Durham Hall, it's where, I don't know if any of you took dance from Betty Roberts, way back in the day.
You're dating yourself.
Well, I'm dating my sister, really. And, that was the Durling Hall area. It's where the old Cardinal Cafe was.
Okay.
Okay? And it was funny that the day that burned down, I got a call from Howard Ball. He knew that I was local in town and that I did some photography, and he asked me if I would go up and photograph the fire. It was a snowy day, he couldn't get anybody else to get out. And so I ended up photographing the fire burning Durling Hall to the ground and signed, of course, the way I always signed, D. Durling Merrill, so it was sort of a little poetic justice there. And this gun, a person had come into his store with this revolver, and one way or another, my great-grandfather managed to disarm the person, discourage him, I'm sure, by leaving the revolver at him once he had it in his hand. The man left the store, and the gun was spoiled. This happened a long time ago before the police tracked everything that goes on.
What's the dates you're talking about?
Well, the dates on, I'm not precisely sure of the date because this happened well before I was born. But when the patent dates are on the spine of the revolver, and both myself and the police looked at it, and there's actually an active serial number on. I don't know how successfully they were tracing it, so I'm imagining back near the turn of the 19th century, from 1900, 1904, something like that. I'm not sure that technically Pompton was even a borough then. The vote to create the borough of Pompton Lakes took place in the upstairs of his store, known as Durling Hall. That was where the vote for Pompton becoming Pompton Lakes was
So for
taken.
people who don't know, who are watching at home, Ed is also a historian for many years, also an employee for many years, and has a great knowledge of the past history of our town and our community, especially with his family background. He is donating this gun and this plaque that we put together to the historic committee, which we're going to hang here in Borough Hall in some place, to give a little history to what we're doing. If you've never noticed, we do have a little museum out front when you walk in, so this will be in that same area. So we thank you for the donation. And if you want to add some more to it, I guess, go ahead.
About Cougars. It certainly was my pleasure, like I said, on behalf of the history of the town, which I've cared about all my life because, I mean, I was born into the history of the town. I mean, there was no getting around it. You had to absorb it. It was part of the deal. And like I said, the other part is family heritage. This weapon had passed from my great-grandfather when he disarmed that intruder. From him, it went to my grandfather, Edwin Merrill, no middle initial. From when my grandfather died, it went to my father, Edwin D. Merrill. And when my father died, it went to me, and I've always signed my name as Environmental Officer E. Durling Merrill. The idea was dropping my first name to the initial, highlighting my middle name to honor my great-grandparents. Aside, my great-grandfather was what would have been called in today a prominent citizen, and my great-grandmother's claim to fame was she lived to be 99 and 11/12. Wow. I got to hear from her stories of the men walking home from the Civil War.
Wow.
So, like I said, history was not an option for me, it was mandatory. And I've been very pleased to have found what I consider a good and appropriate, highest, best use for this particular.
And we thank you, and we're always looking for history, and I know we have some members of the historic board here. We're still fighting to try to even build a museum here in town. We're still in those conversations with people and trying to get, because we have a lot of history here. We have a lot of things that have already been put together and saved, and this would just be another one that we would put in there. So thank you for donating it, and thank you for the time you put to the town.
No, you're very, very welcome, and it was a pleasure for me to do it.
Mayor, I didn't bring my phone. If you want to get a picture, maybe someone of the, you want a picture?
Yeah, let's get
Yeah, I
that.
think we should.
You got a phone?
Come on up, picture.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion to open the meeting for public comments. Motion. Councilman Benning?
Second.
Councilman Cruz, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone of the public like to address? Just give your name and address and keep it to 5 minutes. That's all right.
Hello, Lauren Fennon for Sunset Road. Couple of items, couple of different groups to speak on behalf of tonight. First, Flood Advisory Board. I know you have the resolution regarding the Dawes Highway Bridge on the agenda tonight. Thank you. Thank you, Maria, for getting that on and for working with us on the wordsmithing of that. Thank you, Mr. Sombrero, for that. I know to an extent we have extremely limited agency when it comes to that bridge. This is also, we've said it before, this may be the only chance we get at trying to improve that situation for us for the next several decades. So I do appreciate the action that is being taken. I know we're asking the county to take the hard path. We're asking them to do more engineering work. We're asking them to possibly incur greater construction costs. We're asking them to take a position that's going to put them through a more difficult regulatory process in getting DEP approval. So we're asking them to do things that are going to make their job harder. And we're asking them to do that and take the pain and the cost and the effort now in the hopes of sparing us pain and cost and destruction later by eliminating that pinch point on the river. I know this, I've said it before, I know that this may be futile in some ways, but those of you who have worked with me on Flood Board for over a decade now, a lot of the things we've tried to do didn't look very hopeful or possible at the outset, but we put best effort forth and we've managed to get a lot of cooperation over the years and get a lot done. I hope this works. I appreciate the effort.
So I can tell you, just to add to that, the administrator and I had a conversation before. We are going to reach out to Joe Scupian to see if he can assist us in this. And if he thinks that we can go somewhere with this, we might move forward with it. If he says, look, you don't have a good chance at this, we'll have to reevaluate and see what we're going to do.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And I also appreciate that the borough has always approached this from a measured, technical, rational approach. Sat in a lot of meetings a decade plus ago where not all municipalities approached flooding from a fact-based standpoint, from an engineering-based standpoint, and I think a lot of our success has been because we have approached things that way. So thank you for continuing to work that way. We'll see what happens. Really glad to hear you pull Joe into this. He's definitely, the person to be talking to,
Yep.
So that's good news. Second, on behalf of the Trails Committee, thank you Borough Administrator and Councilman Deline. We pulled off National Trails Day. We planted 5 shade trees with great cooperation from the MUA, with some last-minute volunteering of services and equipment and manpower from Bolzer Landscaping. They came through for us at the drop of a hat, like literally less than 12 hours before we were supposed to be doing things. We had everything firmed up with them. We planted 3 elms and 2 sweet gums, I believe, along the Morris Canal Greenway and the Lincoln Trail, which is the red trail off of Lincoln Ave. These are native floodplain trees. They went in locations where we have lost ashes to the emerald ash borer. We are trying to reestablish and take opportunities as they come up to shore up the woodland areas in our swamp, because we have lost so many trees to the emerald ash borer. We talk about it, there's signs down there, you see the little things on DEP's website, but it's having a very real impact on the health of our forest. And those trees are a major factor in flood mitigation, flood prevention, in our overall stormwater management. So thank you for the support on that and for working through that and getting it together. We had a great group of volunteers. We had many different groups come out. Someone from the Women's Club was there. We had a lot of committee members and their families. So thank you, Councilman Cruz and Councilman Deline were there, not as councilmen, but as husbands and dads helping out for the day. So it was a great event. So thank you for that. And last, on behalf of Girl Scouts, our Lakedale Service Unit, we pulled off an event that we normally don't do in town, that we normally are able to do at a Girl Scout property the end of May. We had some issues with securing our normal location, and so many different groups within the borough worked with me to make this work. My older Girl Scout troop, my high school freshmen, took on planning something, a rather large-scale event, and once they put time into it, I couldn't let it not happen because of scheduling conflicts and location conflicts. So Borough Administrator helped me out with approvals process. Karen Murphy stepped in and offered guidance. At one point I called her and said, Karen, I need guidance. I need guidance because I'm not sure how we're going to make this work. She stepped up. The fire inspector helped us out to get a permit to have a campfire. There were a lot of different pieces of the borough, volunteer groups and borough departments that worked with me and worked with Scouts and really put in the extra time, not just to let us host an event, but to check in, to say, hey, if you need anything else. Michael Sacatano was in touch with me. Hey, we've got the bathrooms open at Hirschfield. If you need anything during the day, during your event, this is my cell number. It was very much an event that happened well for the girls because of Pompton connections, because of how we treat each other in this town.
All right, so I got to thank you for bringing that up. And, that's the kind of community we are. We try to go out and help and get it all done. So that's what the community is about. So it's nice to hear all the nice things you brought up today.
Yeah, so just wanted to say thank you. A lot of different groups to speak on behalf of. So,
Thank you. You step up.
Hello, my name is Jill Tiger. I live at 236 Schuyler Avenue. What? Oh. And I'm here fresh from the pickleball court to talk about pickleball. As you know, it's the fastest growing sport in the country. And I'm really appreciative that the town put in a pickleball court last year, which
Well,
is
we put
fantastic.
2 in, right? We added one for you.
No.
No, it's done. My friends were playing on it, they said.
No.
Tape, that's,
It was taped, but unfortunately it's taped, and people, we won't say names, high schoolers, rip off the tape.
Really?
The weather, yes, it's not there tonight, we just played tonight and it's gone already.
Ah.
So, my experience, and I'm relatively new, like a year into pickleball, is that when I'm down there on the court, the tennis courts are never full. They are used, but they're never full. There are dogs at the dog park. I have heard talk that it would be great if we could somehow move the dog park someplace else and put pickleball courts. That would be fantastic, keep it all in one place. There's a million other places maybe in town that more pickleball courts could be added. We could steal 1 or 2 of the the tennis courts, but no matter what, again, I'm not saying to take away anything. Our town is great with all of the things that they have, but it would be great to find a way to add more pickleball courts. Because when we played during the winter through the rec program, we had at least 20 people there.
Yeah, you did.
And that's tough with one court. We played in Lincoln School, we were able to have 3 courts so we could rotate and it was a fun time. It's kind of tough on one court. So if there's any way that we could find to add a few more, that would be great.
So me and my group of friends have just started playing down there.
Well, come on down on Wednesdays between 6
We
and
play
8.
Sunday mornings. But anyway, we agree with you 100%, and I've had conversations with the schools about using the tennis courts, and it's a lot to do with when they have finals of the tennis and how it works. So we came up with the suggestion of the tape. This is the first I'm hearing that somebody's ripping up the tape. I'm gonna reach out and see if we can actually paint the line there. You know, I think maybe we can, but I can't swear to that yet, because it seems to me, when I'm down there too, that the tennis courts are being used as much as the pickleball courts, I will say evenly. I don't think we're gonna be moving the dog park, because it's a big cost involved with that, but I'd like to see if we could get another pickleball court somewhere, and we're gonna try to address that as best we can. It's just that we can't build in a flood area. So
Okay.
anything that's in a floodway, we can't build on.
Is the one pickleball court that's there, is that painted on?
Yes.
So what would be the problem with painting on all the other tennis courts? And then
The high school is telling me, and we're trying to work in negotiation this out, that when they have their semifinals and finals, you can't have double lines on the court. Now, what we're trying to understand is, we see it in some towns, so we're trying to understand that better. So there's some more discussion that has to happen there. That is our end result, that we would like to get more lines. And I'll use Lakeside Field that they just put in. That's the line for 5 different sports, and none of those sports have an issue with the other lines. Kids these days know that there's many lines on many.
Absolutely.
So we're still in negotiation, but we're hoping
Okay.
to move forward with that.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Step up.
Mary Beth Morgan.
7 Sunset Road. What she said, plus. I would like to move the dog park for sure, because all you do is smell dog dirt, and the dirt kicks up when you're on pickleball court. And there's a perfect spot down on Lincoln Ave for it. It's all the open space. It's only dirt, and it's just a fence, so it'll be easy. And then we can put 3 pickleball courts going the opposite way there. Or you have the pickleball, or the tennis court that you have now, that's pickleball. We can reline that and make 3 courts going the opposite way.
So somebody was
And
mentioning,
take away the
you're talking
tennis
about the
court.
pickleball court that we have in place right now?
Yeah.
If we turned it the other way, we could get 3 courts in there?
Yeah.
Well, that's something we can look at.
Yeah, 3 easily, 4 tight.
In the same square.
Yeah, you just run them the opposite
All
way.
right, well, that's something
That would be-
we could talk to our DPW, maybe we can do that.
Yeah. If you just lose the tennis court, that's all. So I
Yes,
don't
it
know
would
if
become a
that-
pickleball court,
It
basically.
would just be pickleball, and it would be 3 as opposed to 1, so,
All right, well, we'll see, that's not a bad idea either.
that's my thought.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? You step up.
Evening, Katie Cole, 1456 Lincoln Ave. Lauren spoke about the resolution to expand the opening on the Dawes Highway Bridge. I'm on the Flood Advisory Board, I'm not speaking on their behalf. But I just want to point out that, you know, Pompton Lakes is doing everything we can, and we have been for a long time, to keep the rivers flowing. You know, cleaning out the rivers, everything else. For Pompton to do everything, and then the county to say, no, we're not going to make that opening big enough to keep the river flowing, they're the ones holding the river back. And, you know, it's just not fair to us or to the folks downstream, because eventually that water is going to make it down there. If we can keep the river flowing, we might be able to get it through the system. It's 30 hours, I believe, to get it from the Pompton Falls through the main part of our system that would cause the flooding. So if we could keep it flowing, that would be important. And the other thing is, this is like our one chance to do it. Years ago, they used to say that that's the oldest bridge in the county, and they didn't want to take it down for any reason because it was the oldest bridge. Now, if they're not going to replace bridges on a regular basis or adjust them or do anything to them, this is our one chance to get this corrected before we run into, you know, the next 100 years or whatever it is to have a bridge like that over there. So whatever we can do, if anybody talks to any county representatives or anything, it would certainly be appreciated.
I think this whole council up here, appreciates that, and we're trying, that's why the resolution is there. And this gentleman, for the public that doesn't know, Joe Scupian, he's an expert in river flowing and models on how things work. We've used him in the past, and he's used by many people up and down the East Coast. We are going to try to reach out to him and see what he suggests for us to do to make it work, because we agree, it's a one-time, let's try to make this work,
Right.
but we have to
But I mean,
convince the penny.
it's obviously that mayor and council, the folks of Pompton Lake support, addressing the flooding. We're putting up the expense, we're doing what we can. It's now time for somebody else to
Yep, I agree.
step up and keep it going. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Mr. Popov, go ahead. No, Mr. Popov, go ahead, you were up first.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Good evening, George Popov, 1104 Colfax Avenue. Came in to see what's going on. I haven't gotten an update, haven't heard from anyone for 30 days.
You have anything you want to
Moving ahead
add?
with the project.
So, we had a discussion today.
Yes,
Yep.
as a matter of fact, I spoke to the engineer on Monday, and he's putting some thoughts together. We need to do some historical digging with respect to the easement and the corrective action. So that plan is in process right now.
And next,
And that plan affects your neighbor's property, not yours.
I'm aware of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's where it's at.
So what's the next delivery date? Except I'll stand that it is affecting my property. It's washing out my walls, it's wrecking my pool, it's wrecking my patio, and it's gonna eventually cause my shed to crash. So I can't say that I'm not affected. I'm very affected. And again, the easement is there, what's there to do? 12 years. You can't figure out the easement?
Well,
You're
I
saying
think,
everybody else
Mr. Popov,
didn't figure it
let me
out?
answer that for you. I think there's still a question by your neighbor about the easement.
Well, he's been questioning it all along.
I know. This is the first I'm hearing, so this about the easement.
No, it's in all the records.
I know, but what I'm saying
Marston
is,
was talking about the easement.
we have
That
to...
was 10 years ago,
We
sir.
have to address the easement concern, and once we figure out the easement concern, which shouldn't take long, then we can move forward. To get money, we have to find the money to fix this. It's a big cost. This is not a small cost, as you know.
I'm aware of that. What's the next milestone? When's the easement finally gonna be?
Paula, can we say anything about an easement time?
I can't predict when I can get professionals to give me their analysis of deeds and whatnot. I have to go back to the original surveyor. He has to identify where he got his information from to put it in that document. He references tax maps. You cannot put that in a survey without some kind of authentic document to indicate such. So, this is not just a quick phone call.
Well, this
There's
isn't the first
layers
time.
to
You've been
this.
working on it for 10 years.
Mr.
What's
Popov,
the next milestone?
But she hasn't been working on it. She hasn't been working on it,
I
right?
feel like I've been here for 10 years.
Right.
I haven't.
No, but the people before you did the same work. You can't build on their work? I'm not faulting you.
No, Mr. Popov, I can assure you, things are continuing to move forward. As a matter of fact, I think I've done more in a year than you've gotten in 10.
So you can't,
With these folks up here.
and I'm gonna agree with that. And look, I understand what you're saying, and I understand you're frustrated. But at the end of the day, what's happened in the past can't be put on her shoulders.
I'm not putting it on her
But
shoulders.
we're gonna move forward. We
The work was
understand.
already done 3-4 times.
No,
She's doing it for the 5th
No,
time.
there is, we did a search already. There is no historical easement on the property that we can find. There's some question on it. So now we're gonna have to hire professionals to figure it out, and it might involve an attorney to get involved too. Because there is no, when you say it was done in the past, it wasn't done in the past.
Read the Marsden report. It's in there. It's in that report.
Right, but what the report says and what we have in record is two different things.
Okay, what's the target date? When are we gonna have this thing resolved?
I
When's it even
can't-
gonna be?
I can't give you a date when it's gonna be resolved, but we are working on it.
Someday?
No, I'm not gonna
My
say someday.
lifetime?
I'm gonna say in your lifetime, yes, if you're narrowing it down to that, yes. But what I'm gonna say is we are working on it. We had a conversation about it before, today, not knowing you were coming in, about how we're gonna work the easement.
Every time I show up, you have a conversation that day. I'd like to see some action. I'd like to see who's gonna take the lead on
We-
this? What's the target date? There's gotta be something. You guys aren't planning. You guys are out of
There's no
control.
planning yet. We have to get the easement done.
Yeah, I know.
So our
By
administrator.
whom, by whom and when?
My administrator, as of today, is going to be reaching out to people to find out how we address the easement. She's already reached out to the building department, the tax department, and gotten mixed records. So now we have to hire a professional to figure it out.
Okay, thank you for your time. I
Thank
hope, the Turtle doesn't win this one.
We're working. Slowly, but we're working. Anyone else like to address? Please step up.
Good evening, Mike Simone, 25 West Lenox in Pompton. I wanted to make a couple of general comments. Hearing everybody discuss all the things that have been going on in town, that's what warms my soul, because it just tells me that everything is being proactive. You know, you got a lot of people involved, not just one or two. But the bridge, that one bothers me a little bit because it is a shared bridge between Wayne and Pompton, and you guys are putting in a resolution tonight. Has Wayne been approached to, and do they have a similar resolution?
I've spoken to the mayor of Wayne, and he said they would look into it. He never got back to me. But we could probably send this over to Wayne to take a look and say, would you be willing to do the same thing? That's not a bad idea.
I would think that Wayne, obviously being a much larger and heavier tax-paying municipality, carries a little more weight than we might.
Yes, that's
say
true.
might. And so getting Wayne to buy into this as much as we can would probably be helpful. And if you could send it to them and get them to either co-sign it or let them draft their own version of it. But the essence of what you're trying to do is the right thing. I mean, there's a plan in the works to replace the 2 footbridges, right? I don't know when that's going to happen, but the plan is to eliminate the island that supports, or the abutment that supports the bridge in the middle, so you can span that, and that's on the Wanakee River. So it would make perfect sense to say, well, if we're going to do it here, well, why aren't we thinking about doing it there? Because there's a heavier flow on the Dawes Highway Bridge, and we know that it backs up.
So when we met with the engineers, Paul and myself, met with the engineers about the other bridges, we brought up that same situation to them. Why can't you just do that at the Dawes Bridge? And they said you can't because it changes the height of the bridge, which lets more water run through it, which affects the communities downtown. So that's why we're putting this resolution together, because we don't believe that's true, but that's what they're trying to say. By changing the shape of the bridge or the height of the bridge or the width of the bridge allows more water to flow through the bridge, which then affects communities downstream.
Well, that's true on the surface, no pun intended. There are ways to design a bridge so where you properly take that into account. And so I would agree with you, get it looked at by an expert, because we all know about the state, and particularly the state expertise on the dam. It stunk. And it took a lot of time from our people to get them to finally get the dam openings set properly. They were causing huge floods down by opening the gates too much, too quick, and they kept saying, no, it's not a problem, and we kept saying, yeah, come here. So it took a lot to get it done, and I'm sure you guys could move it along a little bit, maybe to get it more proactive, so good for that. The other thing I wanted to mention is today's June 14th. That's an important date because it's Flag Day. I didn't see it really advertised much anywhere. I didn't see too much about it. But with what's going on in the country, good, bad, and indifferent, that's the one flag that represents every single person in the country. It doesn't represent one group, one color, one sex, one nothing. It's the entire country, and it's kind of disgusting to see the way it's treated sometimes, including by our own federal government when they did not properly display the American flag on the White House. Contrary to the code that tells you, flag code tells you what you can and can't do. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware. I'm sure there's people that listen to this. June 14th is Flag Day, respect the flag. Millions of people fought and died in wars to keep that flag flying. So
I should let you know that myself, Councilman Bennett, and Councilwoman Kent attended a ceremony right before this at the VFW for Flag Day that the Elks put on. They put it on every year. It's a great ceremony. They involve the scouts, and it goes through the history of all the flags and what it means. And really, it's a nice ceremony that they do. So there was a little ceremony, and maybe it wasn't publicized enough, but there was a ceremony for it.
that's great. I just think everybody needs to be aware of it, that's all. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
So moved.
Councilman Devine,
Second.
Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against? Approval of minutes. Motion to approve the following minutes. Regular meeting minutes, May 24th, 2023. Closed session meeting minutes, May 24th, 2023. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Councilman Devine,
Second.
Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Consent agenda. Anybody need anything from the consent agenda removed?
Yeah, since we've had so much discussion, I would like to have a resolution 23-142 moved for separate action. It's the last one.
Okay. Anyone else? Nope. Okay, Liz, except for 142.
142.
Yes.
Okay. Whereas the mayor and council of the Borough of Pompton Lakes have reviewed the consent agenda consisting of various proposed resolutions, whereas the mayor and council of the Borough of Pompton Lakes does desire to remove resolutions for individual action from that agenda. Now therefore be it resolved that the following resolutions on the consent agenda are hereby approved. Resolution 23-131 through 23-141.
Okay, motion to approve the resolutions.
So moved.
Councilman Devine,
Second.
Councilwoman Kent, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, resolution 23-142, Liz?
Supporting the redesign and replacement of the Dawes Highway Bridge.
Okay, concern, question?
No, I mean, again, I think, based on the conversation by Mrs. Vennon and Mr. Simone, I think it is important to, I think, highlight the importance, and Mayor Cole, I'm sorry, too, but, I think it's important to make this a separate action to really raise the importance of our position to the county.
And you bring a good point up in that, for the public sense, that what's going on is finally, the county is saying we need to replace this bridge. And what the people who have been in town a long time are suggesting is if we change how the bridge, the height, the width of it, better water would flow underneath it, causing less flooding here in Pompton Lakes. And it makes sense. And we support that. Everybody up here supports that idea. The county, on the other hand, is saying, it's been proven to us in history that if we change the bridge on one place, it affects another place downtown, so we're not doing that to any bridge. So this resolution that we're putting together is we want them to take another look at that, because like everybody's saying, we have one shot at this to make it work, make it right. If they could make this work, and I think Mr. Simone brought it up that, in the new bridges that we're putting in, they're taking out the cement stanchions underneath, which is going to help greatly with the water flow, just because the stanchions aren't blocking any of the debris and trees that fly. So these are the kind of things they have to kind of look at, so that's why we have this resolution. Hopefully it goes somewhere. We are going to hire an expert in the field, like I mentioned, so help us with this, so we'll see where that goes. Any other questions, Beth? Okay. I have to vote on that one?
I need a motion.
Yeah, can I have a motion on resolution 23-142?
Motion.
Councilwoman Kent? Second. Councilman Cruz, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, Liz, when you're ready.
Okay, introduction, first reading, ordinance 23-25. An ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 18 Fire Prevention of the Municipal Code of the Borough of Pompton Lakes.
Motion to approve ordinance 23-25 for introduction.
So moved.
Councilman Devine?
Second.
Councilman Bennett, roll call, please.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Councilman Cruz.
Yes.
Councilman Devine.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kent.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Ordinance 23-26, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 10, Animal Control of the Municipal Code of the Borough of Pompton Lakes.
Motion to approve ordinance 23-26 for introduction.
Motion.
Councilman Cruz, Councilman Bennett, roll call, please.
Councilman Bennett.
Yes.
Councilman Cruz.
Yes.
Councilman Deline.
Yes.
Councilwoman Kent.
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Okay. Ordinance for second reading and final adoption. These ordinances have been advertised and posted on the municipal bulletin board. Ordinance 23-20, an ordinance of the Borough of Pompton Lakes, State of New Jersey, to amend and supplement Chapter 14, Administration, Article 6, Boards, Committees, Commissions, and Authorities, Section 62, Pompton Lakes Redevelopment Agency of the Municipal Code of the Borough of Pompton Lakes.
Okay, motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 23-20.
So moved.
Councilman Deline?
Second.
Councilwoman Kent? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone like to address just this ordinance? Seeing no one, motion to close the meeting for public comments on ordinance 23-20.
Motion.
Councilman Bennett,
Second.
Councilman Devine, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve ordinance 23-20 for final adoption.
Motion.
Councilwoman Kent?
No.
What was that? Oh, Council President Polidori?
Second.
Councilman Devine, roll call, please.
Councilman Bennett,
Yes.
Councilman Cruz,
Yes.
Councilman Devine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kent,
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Ordinance 23-21, an ordinance of the Borough of Pompton Lakes, County of Passaic, State of New Jersey, vacating a portion of the right-of-way designated Locust Street in the Borough of Pompton Lakes between Laura Street and Grove Street.
Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 23-21.
Motion.
Councilman Bennett? Have a second?
Second.
Councilman Devine, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone from the public like to address just this ordinance, please step up.
David Polici, 54 Wanacue Ave, Pompton Lakes. Could you just explain a little bit more of the ordinance of what exactly this is? To go into it a little further, because I'm right around that area.
Yeah. So in the recycling center and county property there, there's a paper road that goes through there. So a paper road is a road that doesn't, it's on the map as exists, but we don't use it as a road, it's property. When they build the county project that they're going to build there, they need to take some of that space, so we have to vacate that space to them to make room for what they're going to build. So it goes through kind of, the back of the recycling center towards where the cone is, where the salt dome is, it's back
I
there.
remember there used to be a house there, and it used to be a little road going.
Right, it used to be,
back there, so it's like that.
that's what
Okay.
that road was from, right?
Okay, perfect, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you.
And both properties are owned by the same entity, the county.
Okay, and both properties are owned by the same entity. Anybody else? Okay, motion to close the meeting for public comments on ordinance 23-21.
So moved.
Councilman Cruz, President Polidori, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve ordinance 23-21 for final adoption.
So moved.
Councilman Devine,
Second.
Councilman Bennett, roll call, please.
Councilman Bennett,
Yes.
Councilman Cruz,
Yes.
Councilman Devine,
Yes.
Councilwoman Kent,
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Ordinance 23-22, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 11 Park and Recreation Area, Section 1, General Park and Recreation Area Regulations of the Borough of Pompton Lakes.
Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 23-22.
So moved.
Councilman Devine, have a second?
Second.
Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone like to address just this ordinance? Please step up.
Jeff Kynan, Ringwood Ave, Pompton Lakes. This is the one that you're gonna sell a permit for people to use the parks?
Yes.
How are you going to, enforce that?
Well, our police are you're gonna have to show the permit, and it's mostly for out-of-town groups, it is for local groups too, but it'll be a much lighter cost. But, if a police officer drives by or is called there for any reason, they're gonna have to pull the permit out and show the permit.
Now, I've seen parks that have something similar to this, and they have some sort of a stand of some kind, and they say to post your permit on this, there's a bulletin board of some kind where you just stick your permit on while you're using the park.
It's not a bad idea.
I thought it was a pretty good idea. I don't know if it'll be vandalized or whatever, but I've seen that done.
We'd have to amend, this is the second read,
Right.
that would be a substantive change.
Can't we just change it after the fact?
Well, I would suggest that if we entertain this, why don't we adopt this and we just amend it to reflect a change of that nature?
How does everybody feel about that idea?
I'm just trying to wonder what would be the necessary ordinance change to, I don't even know if we necessarily have to have the attendee post the permit. Once the permit gets issued for a specific reason, if we put up a bulletin board anyways, technically the borough could put it up just so it's like notification for the PD that that specific group is there. So it's not relying on the user to post the permit. It's, basically a public notice that this group has a permit to post it. And I don't necessarily know that requires an ordinance change.
Like something we can do?
We could discuss after the fact, because either way they should get.
That's an interesting concept. You could employ a governmental activity that's not mandated by ordinance to accomplish that end. But if you decide that you want to have it
So why don't we do this? I
be an
think it's,
obligation, then the ordinance.
I think it's a great idea, we're gonna discuss it. We're gonna first vote on this to pass it, and then we can always add it on after
Yeah,
the
in each
fact.
of those parks, you just have a pole, a 4x4
Yeah,
with
or, yeah.
a piece of wood or bulletin board, you can stick it on there for the time being. A cop drives by, sees the permit.
Yeah.
Doesn't really have to take too much more time to investigate, I suppose.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you. That's good.
Great,
Thanks.
thank you. Anyone else like to address this ordinance? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session on ordinance, where am I? 23, 21? 22.
So moved.
Council President Polidori, and a second?
Second.
Councilman Deline. All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call, please.
Okay. Don't we need a
I think that
motion?
was the motion to close the public hearing.
Did I make it? Oh, motion to, okay. Motion to approve ordinance 2322 for final adoption.
Motion?
Councilwoman Kent, second?
Second.
Councilman Deline, roll call, please.
Councilman Bennett?
Yes.
Councilman Cruz?
Yes.
Councilman Deline?
Yes.
Councilwoman Ken?
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori?
Yes.
Ordinance 23-23, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 11 Parking Recreation Areas, Section 3, Voting of the Municipal Code of the Borough of Pompton Lake.
Motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 2323.
So moved.
Councilman Deline? Second. Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone like to address just this ordinance? Please step up. Oh, well, I don't care, whichever one.
Randy Hinton, 443 Montclair Avenue. I might be incorrect, though I don't think I've ever been, but I might be incorrect on this one. In this voting ordinance, is it restrict voting at night?
We're past this one. This is fire prevention, isn't it?
No, this is.
No.
Voting. They got mixed up.
Yeah, just,
It's on the.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think it does, actually, to dusk, right?
There are already limitations on boating in Pompton Lakes, and it's also sort of regulated by the park ordinance too. This ordinance only addresses basically events related to boating, fishing tournaments, things like that. So that's what this ordinance addresses.
So it doesn't restrict voting at night?
There is
There already
there
are
are restrictions already in place for that. It's not in this ordinance, but for you, as
Not in this?
in an individual, can't go at midnight onto the lake.
So if I want to go catfishing all night long, I can't do that?
Any type of fishing, it's not about cats, but it's about any type of fishing after 6 o'clock. I'm not gonna say, I think it's dusk to dusk.
You catfish at night?
I understand that, but that has not been allowed since. We're not changing anything in that.
So you're saying that there's an ordinance against fishing at
I
night?
think all parks are closed at dusk.
No person or person shall operate any motorboat or powerboat upon such part of Pompton Lakes or other waters as lie within the borough of Pompton Lakes, clearly Laurie wrote this, or bound the borough 1 hour after sunset until 1 hour before sunrise.
So in other words, a resident of Oakland or a resident of Wayne on their personal property.
On their personal,
dock,
wouldn't,
they can't,
no, because this only affects in Pompton Lakes.
so in other words, if they cross the border into Pompton Lakes, they could be arrested?
Well, they
Well,
could
that
be
can be arrested if they're gonna get a
fined. I mean, if it's being enforced by the PD, yes, they would be subject to a fine.
To a fine.
In Pompton Lakes. If they're in Oakland, we have no control over that. If
And
they're
look,
Wayne, we have no control.
We've gone through this argument for many years about Oakland and Wayne crossing a line in the lake and then going to the other side of the, line, and then they can't be chased. It's just like speeding in town and then speeding into another town. We can't chase them into the other town.
As a sportsman and as a fisherman, that is the dumbest ordinance I've ever heard. That you can't
I can come up with
fish
some
or
more.
catfish at night in Pompton Lakes where you could be arrested.
Nobody
No.
says you get arrested. Nobody
Well,
says
now you
arrested.
have a police
No, we're not
boat
changing
that could possibly.
You're missing the point of, we're not changing any of that. That's how
I
it's
know
always
you're
been.
not changing it in this particular
Right.
ordinance, but previous,
Yeah.
You're telling me now there's a restriction that I
Yes.
can't fish?
There's a restriction to take any boat on the lake at night because we don't have the manpower or personnel if you fall out of that boat. How would we know if you fall out of that boat?
You wouldn't care if I fell out of it anyway.
I'm not
If I
gonna
wanna
answer
go
that.
fishing, I'm gonna go fishing. You're gonna have to come and arrest me, I guess.
Again, that's up to the police to handle that. It has nothing to do with this council.
That's ridiculous. That ordinance ought to be changed, not this one. That one.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I saw another hand.
Jeff Pine and Ringwood Ave, Pompton Lakes again. I noticed that there's a fee for non-residents for using the ramp, the boat ramp or whatever. Is that an annual fee or is that per use?
No, so again, it relates specifically to events and/or tournaments. So if I live, let's say in Oakland, and I wanted to launch my boat into Pompton Lakes using our ramp, you still can, free of charge. But if I'm trying to do an event that is a fishing tournament and I live in Oakland,
Okay.
that's where the fee comes into play, and that's per event, not for like an annual. Can't
So,
hold
so
that.
we had a situation a couple times in the last couple of years where fishing tournaments were being held, making money outside of Pompton Lakes, coming and using our ramps and throwing in 10, 12
Yeah.
boats at a time. So this is to address that.
Yeah.
Any other one? Yes, step up, please.
Paul Bowlby, 120 Romaine Ave. Mr. Pillai, could you reread that?
If you're referencing the boating, so it is motorboats and power boats.
So you could take a canoe.
If you want to take a canoe on, it's not against the ordinance.
Okay, so you can fish it now. You
Or a
can take
rowboat.
Powerboat.
Or a rowboat, or a stand-up paddle boat, or something.
Well, I hope there's a lot of fishermen in that catfish, that's all I know.
I just wanted clarification.
Yep, that's exactly what, you're absolutely right. It's exactly what it says. It's very specific to motorboats and powerboats.
Okay.
Do we have catfish in Pompton Lakes? That's my first
Yes,
question.
we do.
Okay, that's my first
We're
one.
in electric highway now.
Okay,
Thank you.
That's
Anyone
a
else?
motorboat.
okay. Can I have a motion to close the meeting for a couple comments on the ordinance 23-23?
So moved.
Councilman Devine, Councilman Cruz. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to approve ordinance 23-23 for final adoption.
So moved.
Councilman Devine,
Second.
Councilman Bennett, roll call, please.
Councilman Bennett,
Yes.
Councilman Cruz,
Yes.
Councilman Deline,
Yes.
Councilwoman Ken,
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Ordinance 23-24, an ordinance providing for various capital improvements for purposes to be undertaken in and by the Borough of Pompton Lakes in the County of Passaic, New Jersey, and appropriating $317,000 therefore from monies in capital improvement fund of the Borough of Pompton Lakes.
Motion,
Just for the record, we do need 4 votes ultimately when this gets moved over this event.
motion to open the meeting for public comments on ordinance 23-24.
So moved.
Councilman Devine? Second. Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody from the public like to address this ordinance? Seeing no one, motion to close the public meeting on ordinance 23-24.
So moved.
Councilman Devine,
Second.
Councilwoman Kent, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion to approve ordinance 23-24 for final adoption.
So moved.
Councilman Devine,
Second.
Councilman Bennett, roll call, please.
Councilman Bennett,
Yes.
Councilman Cruz,
Yes.
Councilman Deline,
Yes.
Councilwoman Ken,
Yes.
Councilwoman Polidori.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Our ordinance committee has been very, very busy. That's all I'm going to say.
If I can't the agenda.
Half the agenda's right. Okay, under my report, I'd like to thank Ed Merrill. For people who don't know Ed, he's a wealth of history about this town. He's someone who you could go to and he'll say, yeah, they had a horse parked in front of the firehouse for 3 days and know all about the horse that's there. So he's a great wealth and we miss him greatly not having him here in the borough all the time. I attended our radio station. I did the morning show with them. I had a great time sitting with them the whole time. We talked a lot about things going on in town. They like to get more involved in our local community and doing local things with our community. And there's even talk of trying to 1 or 2 days a week bring someone down to our radio station here and do some news out of there. And our own alliance coordinator, Ryan Gossage, works for them also. So there might be a way we can make that work. But if you haven't been up to their setup up in Orange County, it's a professional radio station, the way you would think of a radio station when you think of them. They have top-name guests. I got a lot of calls from people, actually, who said, I heard you on the radio. So, you know, it's still alive, and we're very fortunate to have a radio station here in town that does what we do here. So I appreciate that. I want to thank everybody for the trails work you guys did. I saw all the pictures. You did a lot of work there. There was a lot of heavy moving there, and it's always good that you guys are taking care of the trails. I remember when we first put the trails in, I was very nervous about the fact that these groups would disappear and nobody would take care of the trails. You guys stayed on top of it, you kept on top of it for the last couple of years, so I thank you for all of that. We had an unofficial open space meeting where we talked about there wasn't a quorum, but we talked about some ideas that we'd like to see move forward. On Sunday, I attended the Albanian rededication of their building over on the border of Riverdale and Wanacue, and it was myself and the mayor of Quantic and the mayor of Riverdale. It's a very impressive building they put in over there. You know, it's a big, big building with many meeting rooms, dance studios, kitchens, basketball hoops, you know, a lot of things in there, and I'm very impressed by what they put together with this small community. I was educated about the Albanian population in general, and that there are a very small number of people worldwide. There are only about 1 million of them in the whole world. So the fact that they're trying to keep their heritage and their culture alive, which is what this day was about, was very impressive to me. And they did a nice show. They had some great guest speakers, a lot of good dancers from within the organization. So congratulations to them. And they were very impressed to hear that we had hired, one of our last hires as a police officer was an Albanian police officer who speaks Albanian and is able to work within the community. That was, you know, they loved hearing the fact that we're trying to be proactive with that. And speaking with the mayor of Riverdale and the mayor of Quantic, I didn't realize they also have large populations of Albanians in their community. So altogether, I think it's going to be a good group to work forward with. They've offered their use of their buildings for any time we need any kind of meeting space or any of those things. So hopefully those things will move forward. And I think that's it. That's my report. Council President Polidori.
Thank you. I want to thank Ed Merrill for his presentation, as well as the Trails Committee for all of their hard work on the tree planting for Trails Day. I also want to thank the Ordinance Committee for all of the ordinances we had come down, particularly the park and boating ordinance. I know those were two that we've been working on for a while, so good to see those approved tonight. And I also just want to wish congratulations and best luck to all of the students we have next week, moving on from 5th to middle school to high school, and high school on to the next steps of their journey, whether it be college or something alternate to that. So good luck. I know everyone worked hard this year. We had a great year, and I wish everybody the best. And that is my report.
Councilman DeLine.
Thank you, Mayor. As been mentioned, Sunday, June 4th was National Trails Day. We've been doing it since 2015. We took a little bit of a hiatus as a result of 2020. And this year, well, we heard Mrs. Vennon talk about the effort and do a lot of thank yous, but I think she probably undersold her role in all of this, because we had ordered 5 trees from Cerbos, and thank you to our administrator for getting that done so quickly. And the idea was that for it to be about a 1.5 inch caliper tree, which is a decent sized tree, but you can probably move it, you can dig a hole for it. We got something in the realm of 3 to 3.5 caliber trees, which ends up being something more like 300 to 400 pounds. And, you know, we weren't moving those by ourselves. And, you know, Friday night we're talking about this, and she went out there and verified it on Saturday that they were much larger than originally anticipated. And, you know, she made the call to Bolzer Landscaping and got that assistance. And, you know, without that coordination from her stepping up, thinking quickly, those trees would probably be still sitting at the MUA. Maybe we, you know, maybe get Public Works to assist us in the installation. But, you know, a lot of it really that happened that day was because of her. But, you know, the other Trails maintenance members, Keith Jennings, Christiane Jennings, Cheryl Cruz, Aaron Shazat, again, you know, Councilman Vennon and Councilman Cruz were there. Carmelina Fusaro, who's actually our building department employee, was there. Randy Hinton from our Shade Tree was there to assist. We had, again, Councilman Cruz's and Councilman Vennon's children there. We actually had assistance from the PD. Originally, the PD was going to let us use their ranger to move the trees to the original spot, and actually end up utilizing it to help fill the gator bags and move water to the source. So it was really like a multi-agency coordination. A lot of people stepped up, were super flexible. It was a really cool day just to see what could have been very difficult come together with a complete success. So, again, and appreciate the council continuing to support our trails, continuing to support our National Trails Day event.
We did pay for the smaller size too.
Yes, exactly. We didn't overpay. We actually got a good deal on the trees. We just got much larger than we originally anticipated. Again, thank you to Ed Merrill for the donation. Again, he was our longtime borough environmental officer, member of the EPC. If you've been involved in the zoning board or planning board at the time, he used to come in a lot, give his opinion on the environmental impacts of a potential development. Ed tells great stories. So, you always get a little bit more than you anticipate, but you always learn a lot more than you anticipate too. So I really appreciate him actually coming in and doing that and telling a little bit of his family history, and I think really what is the history of Pompton Lakes. 2 ordinances that we introduced today. One was fire prevention ordinance. That's at the request of our Fire Prevention Bureau. It's administrative change, functionally almost dividing up what is considered a unit. So if there was an apartment building, the way that the ordinance used to read is you used to come in and they'd have to check the fire extinguishers and the smoke detectors and things like that. And the way the ordinance was, like, if you had an apartment building, it charged the apartment building. But we know they have to come out for a change of occupancy. They have to do unit A, they have to do unit B, they have to do unit C. So that's really what it changes. It separates that and says every time I come into a commercial building, an apartment building, that's what counts as the unit. So that's what that ordinance changes. And then the second one was animal control that we introduced tonight. So what that does is it's going to basically ban the sale of dogs in pet stores. It doesn't prevent agencies from holding adoption events, doesn't prevent the use of kennels, things like that, but it is a push within the state to stop the sale of dogs in pet stores. They tend to be generated what's known as puppy mills. So I think it's a little bit of a grassroots trying to get every municipality to pass that and keep that from occurring. So that, again, has been on our plate for a little bit. We've been, moving the ordinances as fast as possible, but that's out now. And hopefully, the next meeting will be adopting that. And then finally, to Council President Polidori's point, school is ending. So there are going to be more children walking at all times of day. They're going to be bicycling. They're going to be driving. You're going to be driving. You're going to be walking. You're going to be bicycling. Please be mindful of the change of activity, and please, walk safe, bicycle safe, and drive safe. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. One thing I forgot to mention in my report, which I did mention already, that there was a celebration of Flag Day. Thank you for the Elks for putting it together. It happened to be at the VFW instead of the Elks because they were having bingo at the Elks, and I actually didn't know that and walked in and thought they were having the thing. I said, boy, it looks like bingo instead of, but anyway, thank you for the Elks for doing a great ceremony, and they did a great job. And going back to what you said, going back to the Trails Committee, if you haven't walked the trails, and maybe you should tell everybody where you were working. Some people don't know where the trails are.
Yeah, so I mean, we basically refer to the trails as the South End trails. You can, one of the trailheads, the Red Trail, starts at the end of Lincoln down by the MUA. You can go in from there. From there, you can connect what's known as the Blue Trail Loops, which is also Aquatic Park, which is actually partially in the county. You can access them via Woodlawn, and then that can also connect to the Yellow Trail, and the other side of the Yellow Trail is down by Willow Field and Joe Grill Field. So there's multiple points of entry. They're nice, easy, flat trails. They are unimproved. Really, I mean, I know people bicycle on them. ATVs are not permitted, horses are not permitted, but it's a great way to just kind of separate from, the daily life and that, go take a nice walk. It is beautiful down there. The volunteers have done a tremendous job. We've had some Boy Scout projects and Girl Scout projects have been doing some things down there. So again, since we got the trails open, and again, going back to Ed Merrill, he's the one who really conceptualized these trails on the south end of town. Through the Trails Committee, we've been able to establish them, maintain them, and hopefully continue to improve them. So, again, a nice, easy, accessible way to get into nature right here in Pompton Lakes.
Great, thanks. Councilwoman Kent.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, today is Flag Day. I have my flag flying, and I do want to thank, I did attend the Elks Flag Day event, and they gave us a beautiful booklet, and it's very, explains all about our flags, and I think every student in the school system should have a copy of this, so they understand. I don't know if they do, but they should. This was an excellent program, and the Boy Scouts were very, very nice, and they presented all the flags through from the beginning, like before 1776, up until present. So they had about 10 flags, 10 different flags that we had all through our history here. So thank you for that invitation for the Elks. I also want to congratulate the Trails Committee on the planting of those beautiful trees. Way back in the day when I was handling the Shade Tree Commission back in 2006, we used to get free trees from Tree City, USA, with those big root balls. That's the reason why we have so many trees down on, off of Ramapo and all the streets, because they had that beautiful root ball, and when you planted them, and they used to come with their auger, and those trees last. So those are beautiful trees, and I'm very happy to see them, and let's hope that they thrive down in that area. So thank you very much. I also want to thank Ed Merrill for his historic donation. He's very proud of the history of Pompton Lakes. He's always been, and he's always been a very historic type of individual, and is very generous with that donation. I do appreciate that. Thank you, Ed. I attended the Recreation Commission 5th grade graduation dance. It was an amazing success. There was just under 100 children there, and honestly, they didn't stop dancing from the minute they walked in until the minute that the whole thing ended. Special acknowledgement to Director Karen Murphy and the Recreation Commission members who attended. They always do a beautiful job. I usually chaperone the dances, and the kids just loved it. So it's a good way to go into the next year, because the next dance will be in September for the teens. That'll go for 6th, 7th, and 8th now. So it was very, very well attended too. I attended the Environmental Protection Committee monthly meeting, and the members are very concerned about the amount of litter and cigarette butts that we're finding in the downtown areas. They are working with the bid people to try to come up with a new litter program, and I believe, and I'm one that feels that, these committees are advisory committees to the council and to the mayor. And one way that you do the advisory is that you ask for resolutions when you think you have something that could either resolve a problem or that could, make a situation better. So by putting a resolution for litter, which they're going to be giving you, hopefully we'll come up with maybe a new law or a new ordinance about, how to handle some of the problems downtown with the garbage and the litter. It's been brought up a number of times by residents, and it's still a problem. So they're going to be looking into it. So the heads up, that's coming. I also attended the open space meeting. There was no quorum, so I guess we'll meet in August. I attended the Shade Tree Commission, and the commissioners are well ahead of their mission to remove some of the dead trees, and they've spent quite a bit of money on the ash removal, the ash trees, because they're dying because of the insect infestation. And so far, they've already removed 12 just from Herschel Park. So we are going to be deficit quite a bit of trees in Herschel Park. We already are. And that's something that we have to take a look at when we look at Herschel Park as far as open space repairs. I also want to congratulate the Flood Advisory Board for the first resolution to create created to try to stop or enhance the flooding problems down the south end by putting this resolution together. They wrote that resolution at the meeting, and it was voted on by all the members. And I want to thank our attorney, Mark, for putting that together quickly, because it's very important that, for all the reasons that were given tonight, that when they replace that bridge takes in sustainability of future flooding. That's becoming public law now in New Jersey, and there's no reason that we should suffer any more flooding when we're putting a new bridge in. So I strongly support that resolution. Our DPW has been doing a tremendous job on the parks and playgrounds. They have to put new mulch in. They're finishing up on the pothole projects, and they're trying very hard to collect the garbage downtown, because people are still putting it out in the middle of the night, and next day you see garbage. So we're still working on that, but they're doing a very good job with that. We did have Pompton Lakes and Twin Lakes treated by our new lake treatment company, AquaClear, and they did send us a report, and so that's going very well. I did receive an invitation for the Pride program. That's going to be next Saturday. I'll hopefully be attending, looking forward to that. And I did receive an email from a woman in town. Her name was Lisa Geiger. Lisa had a very bad fall in front of one of the homes, and she broke her hip. And she said that when she broke her hip, there were two very good Samaritans that came to her aid, and they helped her get up, and they got her into her car, and she was very grateful for that. So she tried to reach out, and she wanted to find out who these two gentlemen, or there were three gentlemen, but she could only find two. One was Daniel Soronsky from 29 Zimmer Drive in Franklin, New Jersey, and the other gentleman was Robert Berry. He's from 97 Cedar Grove Road in Toms River, New Jersey. And I said, it would be nice if sometimes people do go above and beyond as a good Samaritan and do really something very nice for someone. She was out of work. Her neighbors helped her with some money, and she thought that, and I thought it would be nice if we could either acknowledge them, which I'm doing tonight, or have a letter sent to them just because they were here and they just helped a stranger. They didn't want anything. And I thought that would be nice if we could either acknowledge them or send a letter or something, but just, thank you, which she agreed. And so I told her I'd bring that up tonight. And I was something, I don't know if you want a motion or anything.
We don't need a motion. I mean, you can draft a letter and just send me a copy, and then we'll have Liz send it out.
All right, I will do that. And I'll just call it the Good Samaritan letter.
Yeah.
And I would like to see more of these things come up, to be honest with you, because Pompton Lakes is such a close-knit community and a volunteer community. So if you have a story like that, and it's a good story, let any one of us know, and let's acknowledge that Good Samaritan, because I think it's getting worse and worse in the country and in the world. The Recreation Commission, so again, they have a full schedule here. We've got the June 15th summer concert coming up. Is that tomorrow night?
Right.
Tomorrow night, Vera and the Force. We have the Lakeside School graduation. We have on Friday, June 16th, and then on Tuesday, June 20th, is the Pompton Lakes High School graduation. We have a Friday, June 23rd, bid summer concert, Pompton Lakes Library with the 3M band, our own local band. And then we have Monday, June 26th, summer camp starts. It's a 5-week program. You can still sign up. All right, so please sign up, because I don't think they're going to take any late registrations after sign up is finished. The DPW will be washing down the docks for both the graduations, and hopefully we're going to have the DPW make parks.
I think they did that today, actually.
They did that today? Good. Okay, thank you. We have paddle boat, kayak, ping pong, and cornhole rentals through Labor Day, and that would be on Saturdays and Sundays. It looks like, I'm not sure how much it is. The kayaks and paddle boats are $20 an hour, and the ping pong tables, and it looks like the cornhole are free. So if you just want to, get out of the house for a little bit, go down to Lakeside Park. We have volleyball, Monday, June 26th through August 21st. And then we have sixth grade volleyball on Wednesday, June 28th through August 23rd. Pickleball, that seems to be a really hot item, Saturday, June 3rd through July 29th. So you can still get into some of these, you can just pay as you go. And we have Monday, June 26th through July 31st, and those for the children. Summer camp, and of course, we're still advertising Pompton Day, which is September 3rd, and they're looking for food vendors. There's going to be wrestling and a lot of games and fun, and we're looking still for sponsors. And that's my report.
Thank you. There actually is a Pompton Day meeting tomorrow at 7 o'clock at the Municipal Alliance office, if anybody would like to stop in and say hello. Councilman Bennett.
Thank you, Mayor. Yesterday, I was down in Atlantic City and attended the 2023 New Jersey History and Historic Preservation Conference. It was held at Stockton University. Historic Commission Chairwoman Laura Jennings presented the walking tour that she had put together when she first joined the commission, and she presented that to it was called a flash session. So we had 15 minutes to talk about it, and there were a lot of folks in attendance, and they were inspired to do the same for their communities. We networked with many professionals, including the dean of Stockton University, who hosted the event, and he was previously a dean of William Patterson University, and he mentioned that at Stockton there's a group of students who interned with their local historic commission, and they were able to put together programs and whatnot. And he suggested we do something similar to help document, digitize our history. So we have folks that have been in town for a long time. We've talked about it at many historic commission meetings, to sit down and just film folks just telling the history of Pompton Lakes. And so that we're pursuing currently. And we also met a bunch of historic architects. We have residents reaching out to the Historic Commission. Sometimes we're able to answer their questions based on Google, but we prefer to have someone in the profession to answer them properly. The Dig-In grant window is now open. So that's where we got the daffodil bulbs from all these years ago.
Please, no more daffodils.
Well, they've opened it actually to, in addition to daffodil bulbs in groups of 1,000, 3,000, 5,000, they're also, last year we got 5 redbud trees and I think 1,000 bulbs. You have any combination of 1,000, 3,000, 5,000 daffodil bulbs, 5 redbud trees, 10 redbud trees. In addition, native perennial plant packages are available as well. So those are the combinations that we'll be applying for. And also, for the first time, they're opening this up to schools. They've opened up to a while ago, but in addition, community organizations can also. So the Women's Club can apply for their own grant. So the website is City Green Online, right here, citygreenonline.org, or you can just search City Green Dig-In.
We can still try to coordinate the trees with an administrator, Dan, and the Shade Tree Commission, just so we're all on the same.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. It's been mentioned previously, National Trails Day. I also want to thank the MUA. They helped provide some of the water, the second round of water, to help fill the gator bags that will water the trees. Flag Day ceremony was already mentioned. The Ed Merrill donation, it's important to mention that the gun was disabled. The Detective Bureau and they worked with professionals to disable the gun, so it no longer can fire any projectiles. Lastly, the pickleball court. So Styles Park, the basketball court potentially?
They use the basketball court. I don't know if we want to steal the basketball court. Plus, we just put some money into it.
Bobby's saying no.
You don't use that?
Just an idea.
If we could put a pickleball court there, I'm all for it.
I'm just trying to, just an idea. All right, and that's my report, man.
You know, pickleball's a huge sport, right? Maybe it goes away, I don't know, but right now it's huge.
That's not a problem.
I know. Councilman Cruz.
I attended the Board of Ed meeting last night where 2 presentations were given. First presentation was done by the facilities supervisor, and basically they're just outlining the projects they're going to have throughout the year for the school. First list of projects were covered by the ROD grant. For those of you that don't know, the district will pay for it up front. They'll get a percentage of that money back from the federal government. And for the ROD grants that were covered, the Lennox HVAC, room 310 and 312, high school HVAC guidance room, high school masonry, senior lounge, gym and auditorium stairs, Lennox roof, Lakeside curbing and walkway, Lincoln walkway. There are some other projects, Lakeside AC and electrical upgrades. This is for the second floor, so if you guys remember probably last year or the year before, they installed air conditioners on the first floor of Lakeside. They're going to do the same now for the second floor, which is great because if you don't know, it's an oven over there.
Oh, it's
at
hot.
Lakeside. It's very hot. So it's long overdue. Lakeside and Lennox plumbing repairs, shut-off valves, high school auditorium lighting, and the work coming up now for the summer. They're going to be very busy. So the Lakeside Tech Room is going to have flooring, furniture, tech equipment, paint done. Lakeside Locker Room, removal of lockers, installation of benches and paint. Lennox Storage Container, Lennox Grass Playground. So it's kind of funny. So if you guys know, Lennox has a little patch of grass when before it wasn't there. And I always wondered what the usage was going to be for that patch of grass that they put there. So come to find out is the dirt that they use for that area there is not taking well. And the grass is just not holding up. So they're going back to the drawing board. They're going to try to figure out how they can repair that space. They thought a possible use case would be for before day and aftercare for some of the younger ones to have, because it's blacktop. A lot of the kids, they fall. My kids attended the aftercare, and there was always cuts and bruises just from falling down. So that's one usage they're considering if they can get the grass to actually stay there and grow. Lincoln Media Center, flooring, furniture, and paints, high school gym lighting, and reactive, routine, and required maintenance. That just basically means that they're on top of all the repairs. A lot of these buildings are very old, and they want to make sure that they keep them all working and safe. The next presentation that was done, I'm not going to get into too much detail. The Northern Region Educational Services Commission, which this body is familiar with, they provide the before day and aftercare programs, and it's tuition-based. But in addition to that, they also provide a lot of services which the district itself pays for. And this could be from speech language pathology, parent coordinators and trainers, technology, occupational therapy. They're basically just provided a summary of their program for the parents that were there, for those to share the information with them. Their program continues to grow, the aftercare and the before day. And they're offering many more services that the district does take advantage of. And the last item that I have, which I find this is kind of exciting to hear. So the district just got approved for a co-ed ice hockey team. Really? So this is going to be a cooperative between Pequannock, West Milford, and Pompton Lakes. The reason for that is that we don't have enough kids. From my understanding, I'm not a hockey person, but you need at least 30 on the roster. So that will cover the three districts or the three towns to be able to put a team together. So it's pretty exciting to see. I know a few girls and boys that are both playing hockey today, and they'll be moving on to high school, obviously starting the 23-24 school year. And the last item that I have, I just want to congratulate Tracy Siopa. She's completed her 10 years on the Board of Education. She's the current Board of Education president, and we actually ran together. Nice. So it's kind of just 10 years. And that'll do for my report.
Thank you. I forgot to mention I need one quick closed session for a negotiation. Any report? Borough Attorney?
No report, no. I think I'd also like to just add attorney-client communication regarding contemplated legislation.
Okay.
To throw onto that next step.
Okay. Minister's report?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to start off with saying that the Pompton Lakes Police Department received notification on June 8th that it has achieved police accreditation through the New Jersey State Association of Chiefs of Police. So that's excellent for those of you that don't know what that means to be accredited. Essentially, an accredited status represents a significant professional achievement. Accreditation acknowledges the implementation of policies and procedures that are conceptually sound and operationally effective. And what that means is that our police department is held to a higher standard. And that higher standard will reflect on the service that our residents receive, in addition to the fact that there is a tie to our insurance premium, that it's understood that when you receive accreditation and you have policies in place that we decrease our liability and exposure in insurance items. So I just want to say congratulations to the police department. This was a huge achievement. I know they put a lot of work into this. I don't recall when they started the process.
About 4 years ago. Yeah, it took a long
So
time.
it's quite a process, and I believe Chief Clark told me that they had no comments. So there's a whole interview section, and some towns were told, well, you better fix, A, B, and C. I think he said they either had none or maybe 2 very minor recommendations, so congratulations to them. I also would like to thank Detective Sergeant Cottrell. He's the one that got this gun decommissioned, so it could be hung and preserved. It was a wonderful thing, and I don't know the name of the business, they're on Wanacue Ave. There's a
Cardinal
framer. Cardinal Framing. He did an excellent job, so I just want to give a little shout out.
You should, he's very dedicated to the town, and he does all the framing for us.
Did a great job on doing that. Thank you. I would also like to say I was in the Community Block Development Grant meeting. That is CDBG funding that the borough gets from the county. It's actually federal money that is funneled to the county, and then we apply to the county, and they're really the conduit of the federal money. We are slated to receive $80,000 for Hirschfield, improvements to Hirschfield Street. I asked in that meeting, and I think I brought it to your attention, I'd like to reallocate curb cuts for Lakeside, which is $58,000, so I'm gonna write them a letter to do so, and then I'll have a resolution on for you to review at the next council meeting. And the reason why I asked for the reallocation is because Lakeside is a good example of a state road through the DOT program. So let's use the money where it's most efficiently used. So I asked if I could just take that money, and they had no problem. So that'll give us, $138,000 now, offset the cost to our taxpayers for Hirschfield Street improvements.
And they were out paving today, what's the small street?
ESG&G, yeah, they're responsible to be paving, I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, the south side street, yeah.
Yeah. I also just want to recognize there's a couple grants on the agenda. So whenever the borough receives grants, not at the time of budget adoption, we are required to report to the state of New Jersey that we are increasing our budget by X amount of dollars. So those grants are specifically for, one of them is, it's our Clean Community Grant, which was $22,000, $22,823. That's self-explanatory. That helps us keep our community clean and, litter abatement and those kind of efforts. So we use that money to clean our rivers and whatnot. There's also an alcohol education grant that's used to offset costs for DUI cases here heard in the council chambers. And quick or ticket, $7,000. So that's just reinforcing to the public, wear your seatbelt. So, and the borough gets financing through this grant to pay our police officers specifically to go out there and ensure that the public is being safe and wearing their seatbelts. And that is what I have to say for this evening.
Any questions for the administrator?
Hirschfield Street, what was the time frame? I missed that.
So, we're gonna put a bond on, so we can't spend money until we actually have an award from them. So Hirschfield will be the last of our capital projects, more toward October.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? On the bathroom, on the boathouse, or the field house
boathouse?
down at Lakeside, when is that scheduled?
Couple months.
I'm gonna put a bond ordinance on for the next council meeting.
Okay.
So, we can do some preliminary, we can get moving on that.
Okay.
So construction hopefully can commence, bidding for that is a minimum of 10 days. However, you want to put that out a little longer so that more folks would be interested in being more competitive with us. So, that probably will start the end of July when camp is over.
Okay.
In August before the boys.
Which is a big project, it's a good project. So, I mean,
It's a necessary
It's a
project.
So that project is for you, everybody. That's the replacement of the bathroom and storage facility. and the borough received $150,000 for
150,
this
yeah.
project.
Mm-hmm. And that should pretty much cover the cost, you think, or?
No, unfortunately, no. The cost of that is gonna be somewhere around $450,000, not including engineering oversight and design and bidding. So it's a big project. Site has to be cleared, demoed, so.
Okay.
The building alone is estimated to be
325,000. It's that much?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the grant was 150, we're moving our open space funds, a portion of that to cover that too, aren't we? What that was discussed.
I don't know.
No, we didn't vote any of our open space, we had,
Usually vote on it.
no, we had asked.
Place that
Right.
we were gonna.
We talked about it in open space, and maybe donating some money in from open space through that project, but it wasn't finalized or voted on by open space yet.
Well, that should definitely make it to the agenda, because it's been discussed for about a year and a half now, that open space was gonna provide funding for that project.
So that's something we'll talk about.
I don't know,
Yeah, we'll talk about it at the next meeting.
I have no idea what those dollars are.
They have to come up with a number, yeah. And then it's a recommendation to us, and then we'll decide
Can
from
you
the council.
send the estimated costs for phase one? This conversation has been going on for quite some time now. We were under the impression that we wouldn't have to seek outside funding for the rest of it, that a portion of it was gonna come from open space.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. I mean, unless I'm advised, I don't know. You know, it's gotta be an official. You have to allocate at your meeting and then.
No, the allocation will happen in our
authorize a
meeting.
resolution.
What she's asking for is the full bill,
Estimated
the
cost, so
estimated,
that when I
the estimated
bring it back
cost,
to
what you
open
could
space.
say.
Oh, is that what you want?
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
okay.
Before we move ahead with looking for other funding, I mean, we have substantial funding set aside for this. We've been talking about it for a while.
It's been a long discussion, and it's long overdue.
So then I believe, Mark, just a resolution is needing allocating those open space funds.
No, they have to first suggest it to the council, and then we would have to vote on it, so.
Right.
It's not even to the number yet.
Resolution, or can I just put it in the bond?
Well, I think it would be easier if I had some idea of what the projected cost would be, so that we can have open space come to a determination as to how much they want to set aside for this.
Right, they haven't
So
come
we
up with
know
a
what the shortfall is then.
Okay.
So if you could send me that before the next meeting, then we can have a discussion about it.
I will send that to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions to the administration? Okay, thank you. Okay, where are we? Motion to open the meeting for public comments.
So moved.
Councilman Devine, Councilman Bennett, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Anyone from the public like to address? Do you have yet? Chris Demo?
Mike Simone, 25 West Lenox. This might sound a little snarky, but I'm really perplexed about this bridge.
Which
Dulles
bridge?
Highway.
Okay.
They're saying, can't do this because they don't want to affect downstream. Go back 15 or 20 years, and that's what happened to us.
Yep.
The state came in, they totally messed things up, and the beneficiary was Oakland, not Pompton. To this day, the dam has worked great for Oakland. So, this is the snarky part. Why can't we get the county to talk to the state and get them to change the level of the dam so that it backs a little bit more up into Oakland, which will reduce the amount during the storm that comes over to us. And at the same time, if they have to, regulate the gates a little bit more. From what I understand, there's nothing backing up into Oakland at all. If they're not gonna let us push water through, then why can't we get some of the water reserved?
I think the models were done by the Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Right, that's the problem. So it's the Army Corps of Engineers' suggestions saying this is what you should do, and the state follows them.
Well, what I'm saying is the county is saying we don't want to do this because of that.
Right.
And the Corps of Engineers and federal government said, we want to do this because of that. And the end result was we suffered.
You're 100%.
And we still do.
Yep.
So I would still, in the short term, it's one thing, but you're talking, as other people have said, this is going to be there for a bunch of years. It's short-sighted it's short-sighted to minimize the benefit by keeping exactly what's there now and saying, well, because we don't want to affect Pequannock or Lincoln Park. And so there should be a way to argue that that's what happened to us, they can maybe do something to mitigate that a little bit upstream, which will help us here. And if we pass a little bit more water downstream, well, you know what? We spent probably a couple of $1 million over the years clearing out our rivers and maintaining a high level of efficiency. And that didn't stop, that pushed more water down. That didn't stop us from doing that. They didn't say you can't get the trees out of the river because, it's going to affect the downstream town. Let's tell the downstream towns to get moving on their end of the cleanup. Everything has a time to it. And somebody needs to look at the timing and say, all right, when we get floods, when we want to pass more water through Dawes, what can we do to help Pompton? We can open it up more, that pushes it downstream, but maybe by timing things between the dam and this new bridge and the downstream, maybe doing a little bit more cleanup work, they can pass the heavy flow. And so we don't suffer.
Part of the problem, and I agree with you 100%, but part of the problem is we're dealing with different counties, right? So one county is not talking to the other county about how they do things. So it goes from Bergen to Passaic to Morris, and they're not talking to each other about what has to be done. Passaic's worried about Passaic, that's all they're worried about.
Well, Bergen worried about Bergen.
Right.
And so unfortunately, again, like I said, we got hurt on the one end, and now you're saying we're gonna get hurt on the other end.
Yeah.
We can't affect the downstream guy, but the upstream guy can affect us. All I'm saying is, I don't know who you're gonna use, I don't know who you're gonna get, or the county's gonna get to help with the hydraulics, but I think all of these issues need to be put on the table and say, look, you're gonna do this. Sorry, Bill.
He didn't like what you said.
He didn't like what I said, no.
No, we agree with you, and the gentleman we're hiring is an expert, he's the number one in this field. So he's the guy that's if people go to him for answers, so.
Before I even got on the council and I went to the meetings over at the trailer they had on Black Oak, or rather on 202, and they promised, they said that we're not gonna affect you guys.
We've heard lots of promises over
Yeah,
that time.
well, that's what I'm saying, so why are we being told we're gonna get it from both ends? So
Well,
all I'm
that's
saying
what
is there's a legitimate way to go about looking at the impact from up there and down there, and we shouldn't be able to take the brunt of it by saying, sorry, we can't do that.
We agree. We all
So
agree.
that's my pitch.
I agree.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public like to address? Step up.
Randy Hinton, 443 Montclair Avenue. Last meeting, we determined that Clairview Lane was not vacated, correct? Clairview
So
Lane.
this is another one of these special cases. So the thing is that, no, technically, there is not a vacation in the whole lane. However, there are points of ownership up to the center line, leaving public access open. This is a conversation that the attorney and I have been working on, and I have to give him, I just ordered the title search report. I was unable to locate it to conclude what I've put together through various email threads, so Mark can properly review this case and advise the borough and the residents that live on Clairview Lane with regard to what happened many years ago, what that means today, and what the borough can decide to do.
So this is still an ongoing process.
Yes, you're not gonna ask me for details.
We don't have a concrete answer as of yet.
No.
Back to our night fishing on the lake. You were coming from a safety aspect, if you fell out of a powered boat, as Councilman DeLine said, but you could fall out of a rowboat also.
Sure.
Where does that put that previous ordinance?
Maybe we should pass an ordinance not to allow any
That's
boats.
what I was gonna suggest.
We
We can
have to
redo
go back and
that. We
look
can
at that.
revise the ordinance.
We can revise the ordinance, make it
Please,
worse.
ordinance committee, go back and look at that ordinance. Just a curious question, the trail committee, do they have their own budget?
It's very minimal.
They do?
No, there's not a separate
No,
line.
they work under administration.
All right,
It's
so
just a small amount of money that there is a miscellaneous line item under.
miscellaneous
Yeah.
items.
So like next year, the Trails Committee might just do a general hike around the trails, which doesn't require the same amount of funding that we were looking for this
Right.
year.
So the cost of the trees came out of the general fund? Good. Congratulations to the Pompton Lakes Police Department for their accreditation. It's very nice to hear. So does that mean before this, they weren't accredited?
Most towns are not accredited. Smaller towns, bigger towns might be, but it's a lot of work and a lot of time and effort to be put in to be accredited. So they started this about 3 years ago, and it's taken 3 years to get accredited.
Oh, good. Well, congratulations to them. Who does the accreditation?
An outside organization.
Excuse me?
Outside organization.
So they work with the chief, Chief Clark, and Chief Clark works with his officers in order to execute and put forth the required policies, procedures, training. I mean, they get to the point where they actually walked through the council chambers, they walked through the PD. They actually said that, you know, they looked at the rug on the floor with regard to would it catch the door walking. I mean, it was an extremely detailed review, from that detail all the way up to how they process
Wow.
arrest, whatever policies. I'm not involved with the day-to-day of the police, but I know how very deep they were here for 2 full days, I believe.
Wow.
Inspecting, that was just that part of it. I think they were interviewed, I mean, there was a lot involved.
A lot of interviews, yep.
And the insurance, so the insurance knows that accredited police departments are less of a liability, so they paid $50,000 for this accreditation.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations again to Chief Clark and the police department.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please step up.
I just had a quick question. Is there a renewal period for that? For that accreditation?
Yes, there is they do have to go through renewals, they have to, yes, good question. They have to upkeep the standard. So upon renewal, they have to prove that they have maintained and achieved what the next level or whatever is required in that renewal. Absolutely.
Thank you.
It's not like a one and done. They have to maintain this.
Go ahead, we're ready.
Jeff Kine, Ringwood Ave, Pompton Lakes. Getting to the trails. I think it's about maybe a year ago or two, I walked down from, what they call Willow Field now. The name keeps changing, and walked south, down through that, I don't know what it's down there, but there's a lot, to talk about history. There's all those, fireplaces that are still standing from whatever was there before.
Yeah.
I guess, summer camps or something like that.
Yeah, so people
houses.
used to have sort of like summer camps along there, and the trails themselves were actually the roads to get to the summer bungalows.
The bungalows, there was a bungalow community.
Yeah, and I saw a bridge that went over to Riverdale, looked like at
Old
one
Kent
point
Bridge, yeah.
that had been washed out. But, I thought that was very historical. I was very impressed with that. Anyway, that's about it.
Thank
What
you.
is that, 25?
That I can't tell you.
Can I take about 2 seconds before you go into?
Jeff, you can't use it, it's been.
No, I know.
You could go take a look at it right now while I'm asking. Yeah, go ahead, take a look. Anyone else from the public like to address? Seeing no one, can I have a motion to close the public session?
So moved.
Councilman Devine, Councilman Cruz, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Privilege of the floor, anybody have privilege of the floor?
Just one thing, Mayor, I neglected to mention in my report. Normally, the third Thursday of each month is a redevelopment meeting. There is another redevelopment project coming up, however, there is not a redevelopment meeting tomorrow. The applicant has some more work to do to clean up their application, so no redevelopment meeting tomorrow night.
Okay, anyone else?
I just have one thing, Mayor. I was asked to present 3 different scholarships at the Pompton Lakes High School, a scholarship award. I have to tell you, I call it my annual cry. It is a beautiful event where a lot of people maybe have, lost their mother, their father, their children, and they will donate X amount of dollars, whatever you think is appropriate, to a student. Either you can select them, let's say if your son passed away and he was a wrestler, you could go to another wrestler who's going to a college, or you could let the school decide who they would like to give your money to. But if you have a way, or if you want to memorialize someone, it is a beautiful way to memorialize them. The students are very grateful for their awards, and it's a beautiful awards ceremony, and So I just wanted to mention that because I never realized that you could do something like that. You can select the child that one, if you want, but you don't have to. But it is a nice way to do that, and I was very honored to be asked. I presented the scholarship award from Terry Riker. She was our previous councilwoman, and she set up a scholarship award for someone who is going to be going to college, a girl, a female, going to college for certain criteria, and the school selected that person. So it was Lauren Salas, and it was very, very nice. So anybody can do that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, motion to adjourn. I'm sorry, we have to go into closed session, so I got to throw you all out. I'm sorry, motion, Councilman Devine, Lennon, Councilman Cruz, all in favor?
Aye.
Now I got to throw you all out.
I gotta go to the restroom.
Be right back.
Okay, we are.
Open?
Yep.
In closed session, we discussed negotiation and
Legislation.
legislation.
And legal advice regarding legislation.
And legal advice regarding legislation. Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Councilman Devine, Councilman Lennon, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right. My mic was down anyway.
Wait, 1 second.
Well, that's part of the idea.